You can. All right. So, welcome everybody, and thank you to be here today. We have an amazing speaker. I'm just gonna pin both of us so you can see us. All right. So, my name is Janita Pui, and I'm like. Let me see if I can do this without the glasses. I'm president-elect of the Emory Latinx Alumni Network, and I'm so happy that you guys are here for today's workshop From Potential to Presence, how to communicate with confidence and clarity. And I think we all have had moments where we hold back in meetings, maybe, or interviews or conversations, and not because we lack ideas, right? But because we're unsure of how we're coming across, especially if you're bilingual, just like me, just like Leslie, right? Maritza as well, that is here. So that's what today is all about, owning your voice and showing up with all the confidence. And there is no one better to do this than Leslie Gordon. I've known Leslie for more than a year because she's the president of the National Speakers Association of Georgia, and I'm part of that organization as well. And I can tell you, she's one of the most generous and impactful voices in the speaking world. She brings warmth, wisdom, and real strategies that help you communicate with power and authenticity. On a personal note, she actually helped me with my pronunciation before a big talk in March in North Carolina. And as a Spanish speaker, that support, meant a lot to me. So Leslie helped me show up fully as myself and authentic because I love that part about her. So get ready to learn, stretch, and speak up. If you have questions, please put them in the chat, or if you want to speak up, just do that. Why? Because this is the perfect space to do that. Please join me in welcoming the incredible Dr. Leslie Gordon.
Thank you so much, Danita. That's a very, very generous introduction. I'm so grateful. Those words coming from you, someone that I look to as a model of generosity and warmth and support, are just that means the world to me. So thank you very much. And I know everybody here that knows you will know how true that is. So thank you, and it's good to see everyone. I hope during the course of the conversation you'll be in a space where you can come to camera and even unmute at times. There will be some discussion a little bit later on in the hour, and I love all voices, invite all voices to take part. I'm really happy to be here, happy to be invited to participate in something attached to Emory because as we were discussing, Gabby and Janita and I were discussing just before we started that I know some fantastic people at Emory, at Goizueta in particular, and then in other places that I've worked with in the past in the context of higher education. And then I've know several people that have their degrees from Emory, and just person to person to person, they're all amazing. So I'm a big fan of things that come out of Emory. So very happy to be here today, and thank you for your time and this opportunity. Let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll get rolling. All right. Well, thank you again for letting me be here to speak to you today about going from your potential into your presence, to be able to communicate with confidence and clarity wherever you are, whatever the context is, whoever the audience is, to be fully in ownership of your voice and the values that you need to bring into the world, the values that someone is waiting to hear. That's what we're about today. First, a little warm-up question for your mind as well as your fingers, because I'm going to be asking you at several points today to drop something in the chat. So I'd like to know, to start with, what is something that you would talk about, like the people that know you best would say, oh, she talks about that forever, or, don't even get her started on that because she's going to talk forever. What is that thing that you don't even have to be prompted to talk about, that you would just go on and on about with all of your energy? It just lights you up. So maybe it's food, or it's travel, or I know for Janita, it's wellness, or it could be your babies, your human ones or your fur ones, whichever one. So what is it that's the thing that you just love to talk about? Oh, great. I see travel and concerts. Oh gosh, I haven't been to a concert in a while. My kids, pop culture. Oh, I need a lesson in pop culture. Culture. Great, great, great. Awesome. Oh, exercise and eating healthy. Great responses. Well, the reason that I ask that is because There are times that we all access that energy and that presence and connection with other people. It's natural. It's the way we are designed. We have built into us this communication function and we all live it. But there are times when we pull back and we have less of that beautiful presence because of some internal factors that might be at play that are keeping us held back. And that's my mission, to help people pull themselves out of those negative factors, those impact factors that keep that beautiful presence pressed down, to bring it out so that you're out in the world where you belong. So let's talk about that today. I'd like to know, where are you right now regarding your speaking skill or your speaking presence? I'm going to help you out with this question. I just want to take the temperature of the room. Are you A, reluctant to speak, or maybe stuck in doubt? Doubt, anxiety, maybe fear, whatever word you would put to that. So you're really just back there. Maybe B, you are speaking, you have some experience speaking, you do it from time to time, but you still shrink back. You're not fully accepting of that role, being the voice of something. Or you're there, but you're not really feeling aligned within yourself. It doesn't feel like your voice coming out, or it's a voice that you question afterward. Or maybe you're C, you're the first one to step up if someone needs to speak. You're reaching for the mic, never shy, but you're always looking for tips and strategies. So that's A, reluctant, B, getting it done, not loving it, not feeling natural, or C, really out there and loving every minute of it. So drop an A, B, or C in the chat. I'd love to see where you are right now. I see some C's, love it. B, C, B, 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 Danita, C. I could have answered that for you, honey. B. Okay, all right. I'm seeing a lot of B's, and that's exactly what I would expect, because the A's and the B's tend to be the outliers. If you were to take the population as a whole, and certainly the population I work with, I would see most of my people in B, or maybe even like AB. I've had a few that are solidly in A and really need a lot of work to come out. So let's talk about what these things mean for us and how we move past these points. So I've already asked you what you are. I thank you for your answers. Let me start with a very truthful statement. Everyone wants to speak with presence, even the C's out there. You want to speak with presence. Even if you love it, you want to do it better. You want to find a way to refine it even more. There are always tricks to be learned. But if you're in that A or B group, you are like most of the population these days, really looking to be more present and not knowing how to get from that A or B to closer to C, or some version of C. It's common, it's natural, it's human, and there are ways to get there. So today is about ways to get there. I want you to discover today what's really keeping you stuck if you're in that A, B range and you're wishing for greater presence. And I want you to walk away with a really simple framework. I've actually designed it just for this group today. And you can use it to immediately start shifting yourself from holding back to showing up with greater presence. And I want you to know right off the bat, before we say another word, you are not a bad speaker. This is the starting point for a lot of conversations I have when people learn what I do. I'd say 7 out of 10 reactions are something like, oh, I should probably work with you. I'm a bad speaker. And the first thing I always say is, let's take that label away. No one is a bad speaker, and you're not lacking. There are just some things you could grab onto to enhance that skill. Maybe you're just stuck. Do you think your voice might just be stuck? In fact, drop a yes in the chat if you've ever really felt like that physical or emotional or mental feeling of, there's something in here and I just can't put it out there the way I want it. Maybe you hold back your voice in a meeting, or you're the last to say something, or you're criticizing yourself even before you get it all out there. If that's familiar, I know how that feels. So there are internal factors and external factors at play in this stuck feeling. The internal factors, these are the most common, and this is supported by linguistics and psychology literature, and it's borne out in all the groups and individuals that I work with. Fear of judgment. Maybe you're less afraid of the speaking act. What you're really afraid of is what people will think of what you say. If it's enough, if it's accurate, if it's polished, if it's right. You're predicting judgment before you even speak. Maybe you have imposter syndrome. I'm going to raise my hand on that one. Anyone else feeling it? Feel free to raise your real hand or drop something in the chat. It's common, and there's a growing body of literature around what it is, why we have it, and how it's become so much more prevalent in the last, I would say, 15 or so years, and especially among women. Okay? It's out there. And then lastly, perfectionism. If there are any perfectionists in the room, I greet you, my sisters and brothers, in the name of all perfectionists. I am the president of that club. Love it, love the hands. Born with it, die with it. Sometimes it propels us to action and propels us to improvements, but I think most of the time in the area of speaking, it's more of a hindrance than a help. So if you're a perfectionist and you just want those words to be all lined up and tight and convincing and beautiful and wonderful before they even leave your mouth, you're just putting yourself further behind. Okay? So those are the internal factors. External factors. There are probably few good, authentic models. And maybe you haven't really thought about this. So let me spell this out, what that really means. We all think of good speakers, right? The people that, gosh, they make it look so easy. They're so compelling. They're so engaging. They just walk in a room and they own it. How do they do that? Maybe you're looking at people as models and they're not really like you. And I don't know if you've really thought about it, but some internal knowledge that you have. We read each other. We identify with each other as similar to me, different from me. Maybe the good models that you see are people that you don't really identify with. And so they're not really good models for you. And you need help finding a better model. That's one of the things I do when I work with people very early on. I help them find appropriate models for them. It's fun, but it's also very challenging work to find out who is the right model for you. Also, guidelines on good speaking. You see me putting good and bad in air quotes all the time. Models on good speaking, or I'm sorry, guidelines on good speaking are often generic. How many of you, you can raise your hand or you can drop a yes in the chat, often hear things like, if it's not said to you, it's said to someone else, just be confident. Or just be clear, you'll be fine. Or just stay calm. No need to be nervous. You'll be fine. Those are so generic that they're not helpful, right? Advice around slowing down, pausing enough, all those things. It's, advice by advice, sure, those are useful and they mean something, but taken out of context and just slapped on like a band-aid, it's not enough to be helpful. And then last, but so importantly, is past experiences and how they stay with you. So if you've ever had a past speaking experience that didn't go well, or maybe didn't go the way you wanted it, and you beat yourself up about it, and you self-criticized, and you reflected, and you promised, I'm not going to be underprepared next time, I'll be ready next time, and next time comes, and the same thing happens, and you just keep living this cycle. Your mind remembers it, but guess what? Your body remembers it. And that narrative of negative speaking experience, being a bad speaker, gets stuck in your body as much as in your mind and in your speech. So these are the external things that play on us. So all this together, my big point here is you're not bad, you're not broken, and you're not lacking. There's just something acting on you that you need to break through. And today is the day that you get to rewrite that story. Whatever that story is that's stuck in you and holding you back, I'm giving you a magic wand and I'm giving you permission to use it, starting today and going away from this discussion. To instead be thinking, be envisioning in your mind an opportunity to speak in a space that's important to you, to be fully present in that room with the people who need your message, whether it's a large space like this one or a small space. Because public speaking could be one important person. It doesn't matter how many people in the room are in the room. This particular photo has a story to it, and I'll get to it in just a minute. But isn't that a gorgeous photo? The colors are amazing. What would it be like to go into a speaking moment with a plan rather than a mind that suddenly goes into hyperdrive when you start to speak, where your thoughts get shuffled, the order of your points gets all mixed up. Suddenly you're panicking and trying to scramble it all back in real time as you're speaking, right? If that's your reality, it doesn't have to be. You can have a plan that keeps you organized, keeps you grounded, and keeps you present with your listeners. And you can start saying yes to opportunities that involve more speaking. And this one's a big one. You would be surprised to learn how many people I work with, very accomplished people at top levels in their organizations, vice presidents and above, who come to me saying, I almost passed up this current job. I almost didn't apply because I knew I'd have to speak more. People are so insecure and nervous and anxious about speaking that they might actually pass up opportunities, but that doesn't have to be the story that you write. And in your new vision with your magic wand, you can see yourself accepting any opportunity that comes along because you're ready for it and ready to bring your voice to it. I want you to know that all of the things I've already said, I understand at a deep, personal, very human level. And I'm going to tell you why. My story around my voice actually started when I was very young. And I only realized this maybe last year. I connected a very big dot. And there's been a lot of processing since then. But now that I know it, it's a gift. It started when I was young. Before I tell the story, let's all take a moment and admire the perfection of my 80s hair. This was 1982, and the wings were a thing of perfection. And the teeth before braces were also something to at least see, maybe not admire. But I show this picture because it was about this point in time that a significant thing happened to me related to my voice. At this time, I'm one of two kids, and our family, my brother is younger. I'm the oldest child. My family had moved from our native state of Georgia out to Texas for my father's job. And the industry that we were moving to and the area that we were moving to were such an explosion of new things for me. New cultures, new voices, people from all over the United States, from just next door in Mexico. I was hearing and living a new language. I was meeting people from all around the country whose parents spoke differently than mine. My ears were alive, my brain was alive, and as you know, children soak it up. And I was soaking it up. And in my playtime, I was playing with my dolls, inventing languages and accents. It was a gorgeous thing. Until one day, an adult and a friend of my family, a friend of my parents, heard me say something. And mid-sentence, he stopped, he pointed at me, and he laughed because I said one word in a way that to his ear was different. And he told me I sounded like one of them. And he meant the people in my new area. Now, he probably wasn't really thinking about it. He was just being silly and stupid, but you know how children are. And we take these kernels and we process them deeply. And at this point, my mind was already very analytical, processing everything. And the message I received was, your voice is different. Don't use that voice here. And I began to wonder, where can I use this voice? What should my voice be? Do I have to have one here and another one there? What's right? And for the next, oh gosh, to be fully honest, 20 or more years of my life, I carried different voices with me to pull one out here and one out there, and I was very careful about where to use which one. And I did not want to be found out as being someone I was not. There are a lot of details I can unpack, but I'll continue the story for now just to tell you that it continued for a long time. This next photo is from, I think, 2019. I want you to know this is very significant. This was post PhD. I was already in a faculty position at a good university. I was teaching, I was researching, I was running high profile programs by everyone's standard, very successful. But look at my body in this photo. Type in the chat. What do you see? How do you interpret what you see? Anyone want to take a guess? Scared? Doubtful? That's right. If you'll take a look at the way I'm standing, and my hand is in my pocket, my other hand is on my leg, those are signals of a body in chaos. My eyes are everywhere but my audience. I was standing in a room, it was sort of a long room. I was presenting something I'd been working on. The people were in front of me in a horseshoe shape. I was in a room full of accent teachers because that's what I do, voice and accents. And I was pursuing a certification that I now have in a particular methodology, but I did not feel like I belonged in that room. I was, by academic standards, the most credentialed person in the room, but still I felt that I didn't belong. And everything about that particular presentation said as much, revealed my feelings. So this continued for a few more years until I found myself at a professional and a personal crossroads. And the crossroads involved two things: where I was professionally and which direction I wanted to go, but also, can I continue to hide behind my voice? Can I continue to keep it pulled back when I have something big I need to say and I have a mission I have to get started? And then I met my guide, if you will, my mentor, my friend, a chance encounter. I was at a conference with other voice and accent professionals, and in one answer, she asked me something like a hallway conversation. She asked me something, I answered, and she said, "Oh dear, where are you from? You sound like you maybe from the South somewhere." And I pulled back, I dropped my head, and I said, "Oh, that's right. I try to keep that low." And again, everything about my body and my response, I pulled in and I apologized. She squared up, she leaned in, and she said, "Why? Your voice is your story. Would you hide your story?" And I had no answer. And in my silence, I knew that she was pushing me toward a truth that I had been denying, that I have a voice and that I meant to use it to help others build their voices. And that was the beginning, that very moment with that person who's now my mentor and my friend, when I made a decision. It was my turning point. And I moved in the direction that I am now. I left an successful academic context to go into this business of helping others find their voice. And the days since then, since that day that I spoke up and said to the people that mattered to me, "I'm doing this and it starts now," the days have been amazing, full of adventures I never would have predicted. I teach courses, I lead workshops, I coach speakers in big environments. I'm the president of a speakers association. Never would have seen that one coming. So many wonderful opportunities have come my way because I spoke my reality into existence with a boldness and a presence that, I'm just going to be honest with you, if you think this is a little woo-woo, forgive me. But when you speak your desire into the space around you, the universe meets you there. And that is where I am now, not only doing this amazing work, but traveling the world and meeting with the most amazing, fascinating people that continually teach me something new about the human experience and how to just live to the maximum of what's afforded to us and to speak our way through this world. So that's my story. And I don't know if that was helpful for you, but I know you're probably thinking, well, good story, but how does it relate to me and what do you want me to do with that? And that's where we're headed next, because there are nuggets in there that you can take and apply in your own situation. And that's what we'll do today, helping you discover how to build a voice that moves you boldly from potential to presence. Notice the emphasis on bold. I'll come back to that. Before I do, let me just insert a quick note. You might be wondering if, because of what I do, if I'm here to sell you into a program or a coaching experience or whatever. I want you to know that at the end of today's presentation, I'm going to invite you to something I'm doing next week, but you have the full authority as to whether or not I even make that invitation. And I don't want you to think about it right now because between now and that point, we've got ground to cover. There are things to be practiced and talked about, and we're going to start that right now. Are you ready? If you're ready, tell me you're ready. Give me a ready or a smiley face or a thumbs up or something in the chat so I know you're with me. Starting to see them roll in. I need some energy. Give me that energy through the Zoom screen. I know you got it. Yes, yes, yes. Awesome. Ready, ready, ready. Here we go. Okay. Here's your framework for today. I'm asking you today to be bold. Be bold. Hear it, see it, write it on a piece of paper beside you. Bold are the four elements of a framework that I've created just for today. In the advertisements for this event, you might have noticed if you were reading closely, it said something about a LEAD framework. I do have a LEAD framework. In fact, I'm talking about that tomorrow. That's also a free webinar. If you want to come and see me all over again, that's fine. That's for general mixed audiences. But as I said at the top of the call, I was having different energy about the Emory group and this group in particular. And I really felt the need to create something special. So that's what I brought you today. So each letter corresponds to a principle. As you see from the icons here, some of these are mental, some are individual, and some relate to our relationship with others. So let's jump in. The first is B for belief. Belief, and specifically to believe in your knowledge and expertise. This work involves reframing that internal story. We talked about those internal factors earlier. Reframing that story from I don't know enough, or I don't sound right, or I don't belong here, to what I know has value. What I know has value. I challenge you, write that down somewhere. It is a major mind shift with the people that I work with. Your knowledge, your experience, your perspective, even your emotions that you bring to a moment have value. And when you speak that value into the world, powerful things can happen. I often work with people who question if they're the right person to speak or if they're the right person in that moment to say something. We said it before, if you're the one hanging back and waiting to be the last one to speak, right? No, no, no. We're reframing that today. Shift that mindset. You are the right person and it is the right time because your message has value. I like to create these profiles in boldness as I go through and experience different things with people. Just a couple of months ago, I had a really fun experience with a room full of people at Kennesaw State University. It was an entire division. I think it's finance and administration is what they call it. There were 60 people in the room. And at the beginning, I was collecting sort of the where they are moment, like I did with you earlier. And I was asking them, how would you describe yourself in your relationship with speaking right now? And these are some of the comments I got. I got a lot of them, but these are the most representative of the themes. Terrified to speak, losing all clarity and panicking as soon as they get started. The thoughts just, and then one that really touched me, I've tried to work on this on my own and I can't get anywhere. It never gets better. That was the beginning. And about 3 hours later, after a very hands-on workshop in which everyone was involved, trying things, doing things, getting feedback, getting silly, taking themselves less seriously, and growing, they were saying things like this. Now I get it, that mindset, emotions, and even the way our body functions can be a barrier to blocking that confident speaker voice. But instead, there are strategies to move past those barriers and avoid the pitfalls. That's what they left with. And I had about 40 comments to indicate something along those lines. So change can happen, and it can happen in just a few hours if you really are bold enough to step into the work. And here's a bold truth for you. When you believe in your voice, others will too. That's another one to write down and take home. When you believe in your voice, others will too. So that's B for belief. Let me invite you again. What would you like to believe about your voice? If you have a thought and you don't mind sharing, drop it in the chat. What would you like to believe about your voice? Think of that aspiration that you have, that it has power, that it adds value to the conversation. Yes. That people want to listen to me. That's gorgeous. That it is heard. Oh, that's so simple and so powerful. Sometimes there's power in simplicity, a voice that is heard. Thank you for sharing, everyone. That's beautiful. Let's go to the next principle. Open to connection. You speak, we listen. Hey, perfect. Perfect segue from Janita's comment. This one involves shifting away from that performative mindset. When you're in a speaking moment and you are running down the checklist in your mind, you're worried about the points that you prepared earlier, you're wondering if someone's hearing you, why is that person not looking at me? All of these things are you focused, and that's performance. Most of the time, the reality is that our listeners aren't looking for performance. They're trying to decide if they know, like, and trust us. And that comes through in authentic voice. And that is the beginning of human connection. And connection is that vital piece that we need when we want to be heard, when we want to serve with our message. We first have to connect, but we often try to skip over that point with our points and our organization and our preparedness, and we fall short because we forget the value of simple human connection. So here's another profile in boldness for you. This is about Marion. She's an associate dean at her institution, a research institution in the state, and she has a business as a career and development consultant, and she works in a space where she empowers professionals. Most of them are sociologists and counselors who are working in the advocacy space for marginalized populations. And as you might imagine, in current times, it's becoming challenging work. And more than ever before, she's looking to use her voice to continue to bring tools to people doing that good work. She came to me wanting to build her own voice in professional settings, but with a specific need, which was a big keynote, but when she came to me, it was about 6 weeks away. She needed to make an impact in that room, and she knew it. And she knew that it was time, that she was the right person because of her expertise. But for her, it felt like the right time to really step into that moment. And that's the picture I showed you earlier. So this is Marion on stage at her big association event. And her comment to me coming in was, I want to feel more confident in my public speaking settings, and I have this keynote also, and I want to connect with the audience and make an impact. And so we worked on the messaging that's powerful, but we also worked on those vocal elements to help bring out the authentic Marion that everyone really needed to hear and feel in the room. And when it was over, about an hour afterwards, she emailed me and she said, "Oh my goodness, the keynote was great. Attendees raved. It was inspiring. I accomplished my goal, and this is like a keynote like I've never had." So she was on a high for several days and even wrote me an email several days later to say, "I'm still processing. When can we meet again? Because I need to know what all this means and where do I go from here?" So having a powerful experience rewrites the story for you, right? It helps you rewrite that negative story. And here's that bold truth for you. Before they hear you, they have to feel you. And I'm borrowing this from the great Les Brown. Who knows Les Brown? Raise your hand if you know Les Brown. He is a motivational speaker from, gosh, I don't know, he's been speaking for decades. He's huge. He's like the mountaintop speaker that speakers look to. And I had the privilege of being in the room with him a few months ago and to also have a small group conversation with him. And this is one he talks about often, a point that he makes. And what he's saying here is what I've been saying. People don't just need to hear your words, they need to feel you. And that comes from that inner spark, that inner energy that you bring forward when you speak, to be present with people. That's presence. So, O is being open to connection. So let me ask you again, Where do you feel you need greater connection? Is it workplace conversations? Is it something in your personal life? Is it going out and giving a public speaking engagement, advertising your business? Where do you feel you need to be more connected? If you have any thoughts you're willing to share, I would be privileged to hear them. Networking, yes, yes. I get a lot of requests for people who need help networking. It's hard. It's hard to walk into a room and be on, even if you're an extrovert, because you're calculating those conversations, but you want to seem genuine. Great addition. Thank you, Janita. Okay, so let's move on now to our third point in the BOLD framework. And that is L, letting go, and in this case, of perfectionism. If you suffer from perfectionism, today is your official invitation to start to break that habit, break up your relationship with perfectionism. Because it's okay to stumble, to pause, to forget, to lose track of that point. It just means you're human. Because conversational language, that happens all the time. People forget. So you start again, you go again. It's a dance and you just navigate it as you go. However, with strategic clarity, you can boost confidence and increase that connection. So early on, I said, imagine a life where you have a plan and you go to that plan rather than that long list of points that you might forget. This is the plan: how to clearly organize your thoughts, know your audience, know what they need to hear, know how to deliver it with energy, and then make that connection. That's a basic plan that you can take from one conversation to another and boost your confidence when you do it. So let me give you another profile of someone who did this. This is about Camilo, who came to me 6 or 7 months ago. He's a sales analyst. He works for a major sports and entertainment company. You would know the name. And he came to me initially saying, I think I need to make some changes regarding my accent because there are keywords in my presentations that aren't being understood. And my boss is telling me maybe I need to get a little bit of help. Maybe I speak too fast. I'm not really sure what the problem is. So his was sort of a combination of things. It was that presentation environment, but there were some accent issues at play, and we needed to sort out which was the bigger issue and how we could solve both problems. He wanted to be able to be confident in those presentation settings. For him, that's the ultimate goal, to have control of his speaking so that he can be clear and effective and serve the people in the room who are looking to him for his expertise in that very specific environment. And so he went from wanting that clarity to telling me, oh, my bosses are noticing a change. They're coming up to me. I'm not even asking. They're coming up to me after meetings and saying, you're doing a great job. I think some things are changing, things are really improving. And that gave him confidence. And soon he started to talk about his next presentation and thoughts for the next opportunity, because that's what confidence does. It propels you to the next moment. So clarity builds confidence, which then leads to the next opportunity. Bold truth, you don't have to be perfect to be powerful. Very, very true. And in fact, these days, what people really want, that know, like, trust factor, people want to know the real you, not the perfect you. So don't be perfect, be powerful. What is it that you can let go of? Is there something on the top of your brain as you're listening to this and listening to Camilo's story? Is there something that you think you could let go of? If it's not perfectionism, it might be a habit, it might be a story that you've been telling yourself. What can you let go of? The doubt. Good. Anyone else have doubt they want to let go of? Does anyone else have a particular habit that they want to let go? Oh, overthinking. Thank you, sister in the overthinking sisterhood. Yes, me too. Overthinking, over preparing. Fear. Yes, because fear lives not only in your mind, but in your body, right? Absolutely, absolutely correct. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. And that's going to move us right on to our last one. D is for do it again and again and again. Okay? Stop telling yourself the story, I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do it again, or I don't look forward to the next time. Rewrite that story. I will do it again. Okay? And here's why. Confidence is built by repetition and reflection, not by talent. You're not born with it, you build it. It's not a trait. You have to do it before you can refine it. So, that generic advice we talked about before, when your mom, bless her heart, she means well, and she says, honey, just be confident. It's not helpful advice because you build confidence. But there are ways and action steps to take to build that confidence. And it involves doing it, reflecting on it, and then refining it. And brick by brick, you build your confidence, just like Camilo did. But also, like Josie did. I love Josie's story. She's such a really neat person, but her process and her transformation have been so huge. I love to tell her story. She's the university director of development at her institution. And she came to me with real levels of anxiety and nervousness around speaking. She had some social anxieties generally, but they really, really showed up in speaking moments. But as you might imagine from her role, she needed to be public facing often. And she was building relationships. And then she was translating that information back to her boss, who was the president, needing to help him understand the donors and the sources of development out there. So there was no escaping speaking in Josie's case. And she wanted to reduce that anxiety and communicate more naturally, show up in a way that felt like her. And by the way, the natural Josie is very bubbly, very creative. I've got a picture of her book here that she illustrated. Her past is in fashion design. So she's got a ton of creativity and presence and perkiness that needs to be shared, but she was hiding behind it because of her fear of speaking. But she went instead to a place where, because she put herself in moments, she chose them, she said yes, she got better and better until she built confidence. She specifically told me, there's something coming up. I don't have to do it. I'm going to do it. I need this moment. I need the practice. And she did it. And in under a year, she had two major speaking appearances on behalf of the university and was invited to MC a charitable fashion show that involved a couple of hundred people from the area. And she was in the spotlight the whole time as the MC. And about 30 minutes after the event ended, she texted and said, I killed it tonight. She kept showing up. She kept pushing herself and would reflect, and we would work out that reflection together. And she is building to something where she is now looking for new opportunities and is no longer hiding behind her great personality. So here's your last bold truth. Confidence isn't a trait. I said that before. It's a tool that you build by habit. What is the tool you most need to use to practice to build toward your confidence? If you have a thought right now, share it in the chat so that we can all learn together. What's the tool that you need to build your confidence? Take action, action, action. Action is such a good word. Yes. So that might look like volunteering to step out, volunteering to show up, to give a report, to come and explain something to someone. Speaking takes a lot of different forms, but put yourself in the position where you are the voice for something. That is key. So, I asked you before, where are you with regard to your speaking skills and your relationship with speaking? And I want to ask you to revisit that question right now. Checking my time here. I've given you the framework to believe your knowledge matters, be open to connection, let go of perfection, and to do it again and again. Are any of these resonating with you? Believe, open to connection, letting go of perfection, doing it again. If there's one that you really feel like, something's speaking to me about this one, let us know in the chat. I'd love to know. And if there's anything that you would take from today, it would be this, another truth. You can speak with bold presence and confidence. You absolutely can. It is something that can be learned. Your voice should be a key asset in leadership, influence, and connection wherever that might be important to you, whatever context you determine. Your voice could increase in confidence, notable confidence that other people hear and that you feel in public speaking settings, in networking, that was one mentioned, and in professional settings or even personal ones. And your voice can be a compelling and effective tool that others see as that's a communicator. She or he is a communicator. And maybe, I haven't explicitly said this, but it's important to point out if it's not you, maybe it's someone that you work with, someone that you mentor, someone that you recognize has that thing to offer and they're hiding. Maybe they need to know. So maybe your role, if you're the confident communicator, is to build up someone else by being the model and showing them the way, because we need more confident voices in this world. So we're heading into Q&A. I want to make time for that because I did promise it, and even some hot seat coaching if anybody's open for it. But before we do that, I do want to invite you to what I've got coming up next week. So let me just take maybe one more minute and run this down for you quickly. I'm offering a 3-day virtual event. It's happening Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week. It's at 10 a.m. on all days for an hour. I'll stick around if people have questions or discussions, so sometimes it might be more than an hour. All days is at the same time, and all days are virtual, and there will be replays. So if you have something going on one of those days and can't make it, that's not an obstacle for you. You can get that replay after it's over. Excuse me. I want you to know this about the experience coming up. It is not for the wishers and wouldn't that be nice mentalities out there. This is an action step course. So what I presented to you today, these are the fundamentals, the absolutes of building a confident voice. The next step is action focused. You will have an assignment. You will get feedback. You will build a thing. You'll have a mini project, and you're going to see your progress from day 1 to day 3. So it's only for the people who are willing to put in some work, maybe stretch themselves a little bit and see the results. So here's a quick description. Again, it's an opportunity to step into a voice that's clear, calm, and compelling in just 3 days. It's 3 hours of work. It's not a big investment of time. Quickly, I'll tell you what's happening on those 3 days. Day 1 is about clarity. I mentioned that in today's presentation, but clarity is more than about what's happening here. It's about what's happening up here. What's going on in your head? Can you be organized in your thoughts in a way to communicate then clearly with your spoken expression? And it's also the day that we start the project that you're going to do, and I'm going to be giving you instructions to help you do that. Day 2 is all about energy and connection. We talked a lot about that here, helping other people feel you as much as hear you. That's what day 2 is, and it's always an eye-opener. Day 3 is confident practice. So we're practicing the project that you're doing. You're getting on the spot feedback and tweaking from me and from your other classmates. And we're moving toward a project wrap up so that you have a takeaway project that you can use somewhere else that shows off your confident, skillful voice. Those are the 3 days. It's an action plan. Like I said before, you're not just talking about it, you're doing it and you're seeing it happen in real time. These are the things included: the actionable content I mentioned before, a workbook that will go with the course so you have something to do every day to make notes, answer questions, work out a plan. Live Q&A sessions are recorded. You get those even if you can't be there. The project, the before and after project I described. 2 bonus gifts. One of them is a video lesson about resetting the nervous system. If you're someone who gets physically nervous before you speak, I have a video lesson about that, about resetting the nervous system. And then the other one is a handout on how to level up the engagement of your presentation. So it's 4 action tips, or 3 major action tips to help you bring more engagement. And then as an added bonus, if you follow this QR and look over the material on the website I have for this course, and you decide this is the opportunity that you want to step into, if you want to book it by today, by midnight tonight, then you'll get an additional one-on-one session with me to really get super detailed in a way you might not want to in a course with other people. We can talk about whatever particular needs you have and make it work make the coursework even better for you. So that's the course. I'm listing out all the features you've heard me mention here. Put all together, it's easily an $1,100 course, but it's a $97 experience, and it's happening over 3 days virtually next week. So it's a great opportunity to go ahead and kickstart that personal development around having your confident, present voice. And I would love to have you all there. You're an amazing group, and I'd love to have you be a part of it. So that's the course again, and now you've got the QR, and I want to go ahead and move us to Q&A. So anyone who wants to raise their digital hand or unmute, I'm happy to do it either way, or Janita, Jabby, if you want to facilitate, I'm fine with that. While we decide who's going first with a question or needs some help, here's another QR for you. It's a free gift. It's mine for you today. No strings attached. I just want you to have this because it's a helpful little 4 ways to get more attention when you speak, or to grab attention when you speak. Super easy tips you can start using today. So grab that as your free gift, and then I'm here for your questions, your coaching, whatever you might need.
Leslie, thank you so much. Do you have the links so you can put it in the chat?
Yes, let me grab them. I'll do that. Oh, and let me stop share.
And if
And
not, we will send the links via email after we finish this call today. So
uh,
while you do this, thank you
yep.
so much for doing this for us, Leslie. You know, at Emory, we're always looking for great speakers and people who actually teach us something. So thank you. And I do have a question. I think, I don't know if somebody else have a question. I do have a question for you today. So
Yes.
I have a podcast, and
Yeah.
every time, like during the moment, everything is great, right? But when I listen to it, I don't listen to all of them, but I tend to like start a sentence and then go to another
Mm.
thing
Mhm.
that I'm thinking, and then I come back. And how can I how can I do it in a better way that I don't, because I feel like I'm rambling instead of going straight to the point. So do you have something that
I
could
do. That's a great question. And a lot of people have that question actually. Rambling, or some people call it other things, hopping around, whatever it is, but it's an active mind. And so that's a good thing. It's coming from a good place. You have a lot of ideas, and your brain moves faster than your mouth. That's true for a lot of people. Um, what I would suggest, and it takes a little practice, but I call it like bottom line speaking. So if you had, let's say, 10 seconds to make your point, right? And you only had 10 seconds, what's the bottom line of that point?
are
And
you
can you,
asking?
yeah, say that
Oh, like
as a
me
complete
thinking?
thought. Yeah, like say it as a complete thought, and then go back and support it with other thoughts. Rather than what you're probably doing is, yes, you're rambling, but you're rambling because you're sort of working your way to it, right? And rather than going from A to Z, you're going A to B, but oh, C is an interesting point, and then I'm going to go to F over here because that's interesting too. You're giving sort of the scenic route, right? But imagine that your people need to get there in one direct line, right? So say a point as if it's the bottom line and the only thing you have time to say, and then support with detail. Okay. Because that's also, some people call this like soundbite speaking, right? Imagine that, and it's true today because we share our content in little bitty chunks, right? If someone were to come in and cut out some of your wisdom and they just need 30 seconds of it or a minute of it, what will they get in that minute? So it might mean that you have to leave out some of the colorful details that we all love, but get to the bottom line and then provide the supporting details. It's almost like backwards from what we're taught to do. Does that make sense?
It does. Interestingly, it happens more in Spanish than it happens in English.
Oh.
So I'm not sure. I mean, you speak several languages, and I'm not sure if it's because I have so many things to say in Spanish, but in English is like maybe not. I don't know.
I,
But
I think there
it's
could be a couple of things happening there. I mean, one, we have different personalities in different languages. I mean, languages have a personality. And I'm sure you're told this. You speak several languages. I hear this when I speak other languages. People will tell me you seem a little different when you're speaking that language because you take on a personality, right? Not good or bad, just different. Because languages do have a personality, they have a rhythm, they have a spirit to them. But also because if it's a learned language, you probably learned to construct it in a certain way. So in your native language, you are a little more freeform. But in English, you might be a little bit more constructed because that might be how you learned to
That's
express
true.
yourself.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Watching for any chats or questions.
Yeah, Antonio has one. He's saying, just
Oh,
ask if one just embrace an accent.
yeah. I'll borrow from another great speaker I know, Janita, you know him too, Mark Brown. He always says, your accent is an asset. Don't lose it, use it. And that could have different interpretations, but the way I interpret that with my clients is if there are changes to be made, they should be made in the name of clarity because we communicate well when we're understood. So there might be strategic places where certain sounds could be modified to enhance the signal, basically, so someone doesn't get tripped up on the message. And there are places, I know several languages, so I can make predictions about where those places would occur. And then those are, I can safely say there are probably 4 or 5 things right off the bat that I would look for when I'm listening to someone who's working through an accent. And then once those fixes are made in the name of clarity, then it's up to you as to whether or not you want to continue to move in the direction of a target language or just stick with those changes for clarity and not make other changes. And that's the most personal part of the process and a very important decision to make that I cannot make for a client, but I can guide the thinking for the person looking to make that decision. Great question.
I think that's it. I'm just putting in the chat again. Oh, that's not it. But the gift that you got us and the workshops, Leslie, I just want to say thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it, and we would love to see you again. And thank you everybody for coming here today.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your time. Have a great day.
Bye bye.
Bye.